Hello and welcome to Life in the Mind, a neurodivergent podcast by neurodivergent people. I'm Murray Spear.
And I'm Joy Amy Wigman.
And we have had a pit stop change. We have transitioned for this second podcast with Roberta Smart.
Hello.
Through from Dave to me.
Hey!
Yeah, the power of media.
Yeah, so because we don't film both episodes on the same day. No, we definitely film them a week apart, which is why we're all wearing the same clothes.
Yes. Yeah.
Visual gag for you there. So we thought, our topic for today, we thought we'd have a little chat about being neurodivergent and sort of dealing with grief and what all that kind of stuff entails for us. There
All
are
the things around it, the expectations, the events,
Yeah.
the really specific
the
events.
events, man, the events.
It's a massive topic,
It is.
people.
It
Yeah.
is.
How long do we have?
We've only got about 20 minutes.
Okay. Wow.
Speak at double time.
Yeah, it's a fascinating subject. And again, I think people don't talk about grief and loss anyway.
Yes.
Just as a rule. So a bit of a soapbox of mine is talk to your people about dying.
Yeah.
Talk about
The reality of it.
the death of people that you've lost, death of people that of yourselves. Talk about your own mortality. Talk about, if you have strong feelings, talk about them. I mean, I think that's the same for anyone, regardless of their neurospiciness or not.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, there's not an awful lot of research out there about it in terms of neurodivergence, but the National Autism Society have like a guidelines for professionals to help professionals help people.
Yeah.
And one of the things on there is talk about it.
Yeah.
Because especially for neurodivergent people, it's a better way to process. I know that I find it useful to talk about, especially I think talking about the person
Yeah.
is a really nice way of doing it. And I maybe it's the autism in me. I don't like saying things like, "Oh, I'm sorry for your loss," because obviously I am sorry that they've lost somebody, and the empathy is like really, really hurts. What I like to do, and I learned that from somebody else on a podcast, and I think it was the lady who does the grief cast. Can't remember what her name is.
I can't do names.
But she's amazing.
Yeah.
And she said, I like to go up to people and say, "Oh, tell me about them.
Yeah.
What were they like?"
Well, I've just been working in the funeral industry for a year as a funeral arranger. So I'm the person that you would come in and talk to if you've lost your granny, your granddad. Let's keep it in a safe place. And you want to organise a funeral, I'm the person you talk to. And unlike a lot of my colleagues, my first question was always, who are we going to be looking after?
Yeah.
Rather than who's dying. Because
Yeah.
they are our VIP guests, they are our residents, they are under our care. The person who has died will come into our care, and we will take care of them. First thing, so who are we going to be taking care of? And the second thing is, right, tell me about Ruby. And they look at me, the family look at me a little bit askance, go, I thought we were going to sign papers and be formal. No, tell me about her.
Yeah.
Tell me about her. What's she like? And they tell me all the very polite things. And I go, and how are you all doing? And then again, look a little bit uncomfortable. I'll say, because this is important. That brings up a lot of stuff. I'm really trying hard not to swear, because sweary words make sense. But it brings up a lot of stuff. The sibling stuff. I've been left out of the family. You're always the favourite. Why are they getting more attention than me? All those little bits that you've been holding in. And again, it's regardless of your neuro status, the death of a person that you care about brings up an awful lot of stuff. For people who are working through neurodivergence and process differently, to me, I think the biggest thing is you have permission to feel exactly as you want to feel.
Yeah.
This is a safe space. And this is, again, something that I personally offer to all my clients, which I don't think my colleagues did necessarily, because this was me. This was my soapbox. This is a safe place. Do you want to walk in here and sit and talk to me and tell me that she was an absolute cow, that you hated her, but you can't tell your parents this, you can't, you're holding it together. Anyone that's lost anyone, you're holding it together for your friends and family. So come in here and break down. Come in here and have a cry, a shout, a swear, stamp your foot, call them all the names under the sun. Be truthful.
Yeah.
Give yourself a place to dump it and let me take it for you. That was something that meant a lot to me working in the industry. I don't know how common that approach is.
I would hope that it's widespread. That would be lovely to think that people would give you that open space.
Yeah, 'cause it's so important. I mean, especially, I think, as we exist in a British culture, which is one for keep calm and carry on.
Yes.
And that whole thing of, it's grief and that's a private moment. You must lock yourselves away and you have your grieving period in private, shut behind closed doors type of thing, which is ridiculous and so unhealthy in my mind.
It's bad, man.
And I think that then added to the neurodivergence angle, especially if your presentations of emotions for different reasons, whether that's they're too big for the world and so you've been told you're too much, or the social rules are very important, especially if they're not quite clear, then the neurodivergence angle is really obviously going to be affected there. And like grief is massive. It's a big, big emotion. And if you already feel emotions bigly, that's a word, definitely a word.
Definitely a word.
Bigly
Excellent
massive,
word.
like
Bigly massive.
then grief is this expansive explosion of everything. And one of the things I really noticed with grief, from the autism point of view, is probably one of the first things I really went, oh, this is different for me than other people. Autism, my autism especially, does not like change very much. And death is the ultimate change.
Yes.
It's the ultimate
no
change.
do-over, no second chance.
Yeah.
No chance to say the thing or do the thing, or we were going to do a thing and now we can't. I mean, it's like breakup of relationships as well, very similar.
It is.
Losing a friend. We were going to go on holiday. We were going to spend Christmas together. We were going to do things, and we all plan our lives forward.
Yep.
To suddenly have that cut off.
What Murray has just said is exactly the issue that I have with it, is that it is a change that keeps on changing. And I lost a friend a number of years ago, and I regret that I did not get like grief counselling or something so I could just talk about him. And I talk about him quite a lot. My husband didn't really know him. It was sort of before we met. It was most of our relationship together, and he passed away quite soon after I got together with Paul. And every time I plan to do something, I'm very aware that I'm doing it without Ian. And I try and see that like a positive thing. I kind of try and feel his presence. Not necessarily in a ghosty way, but sometimes I just can feel him put his hand on my shoulder and go, all right, mate. Yeah. And it bolsters me. Yeah. But it still is a constant change. And for me, change really freaks me the hell out. I'm not good with it. Yeah.
that way of saying it in terms of the change that keeps on changing is such a good way of, because like things just keep rippling forwards. And like I knew Ian not as well as you, but like it's a really good example of someone who was there and now he's not. But one of the things I remind myself of, I guess, with grief is that people are never truly gone in that kind of way. We live on through these impacts we have on other people and the way that these ripples echo down through generations and stuff and how people affect us. So this is very prevalent because last week one of my friends suddenly died.
Gosh, that's huge.
So it was a really big thing. And I found out just before a performance. So I was like, sit in shock on the floor for 10 minutes. So I was like, how do I, I've just done warm up. But then I went, okay, guys, but everyone's looking at me going, this is, I was like, actually, I need to keep going with this because I know for my brain, if I don't keep going with what I'm doing, fulfill the expectation of plan,
yes,
then it'll be worse. And so I pushed it down and just went, okay, that can be controlled. I'll address that later. and did the performance. And then I had a big cry as soon as I got into my safe place, back inside the door.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so the group of friends that I knew him through that community came together on Thursday. And we were just, it was part of our shanty singing group. And he was a big part of that. And he had lots of impacts on all of us. And he was a wonderful, wonderful human being. And so we came together to kind of share it, to hold that space, to process it together. And we sang shanties. We sang the ones that he would always lead on and warble away on. But we also shared stories. And so it turned into a wake. And I think wakes are a wonderful, wonderful thing, because it's again that thing of talking about the person, and they are living.
Yeah,
They are living, and you go, "Oh, this person's not gone, not in that absolute finite way."
If you do a wake properly,
Yeah.
and that sounds like
It was
doing
brilliant.
a wake properly.
It's accidental.
I find it really difficult. I don't do silence very well. I've always got to have something, because I'm one of those people that has a brain that doesn't stop. So my narration is constant and constant. So if it's silent, I've got to listen to that narration, and it's not always very nice. So I like a little bit of a distraction. And going to the sort of funeral or wake where everyone is silent is like my worst nightmare. I was talking to a colleague before the podcast. He said that one of the other problems is that after funerals and stuff, if they know you've lost somebody, people just randomly start hugging you. Right? And I'm a hugger, right? I'm a hugger, but sometimes I cannot do the hugging, and I can't do the hugging without warning. So when people come up behind you and just hug you from behind, I will immediately jump forward. I might turn around and just slap.
Punch in the face.
Yeah, accidental punch in the face. I'm so sorry.
People just don't go up behind people and hug them. It's not a good plan.
Don't hug
bodily
just
autonomy.
asking anyway.
Yeah.
Just be can we hug? Or even put the arms out a bit and do the shrug, and the other person can do that. Not today.
It's a really easy way to just address consent, bodily autonomy and stuff.
I mean, that should be for everybody, but especially your neurodivergent friends. They need some warning for hugging, and they can't always do the hugging because they might be overstimulated with all the emotional stuff that they are going through. And you have to act a certain way. I denied going to a certain person's funeral. Not the guy I was just talking about. And I don't think I would have had the power to do that if I hadn't known that something weird was going on with me.
Doing the done thing, what's expected of you is amplified during times of grief, isn't it? Society says you do the thing, we're expected to behave a certain way in certain places. And with grief, like you were saying earlier, it's is it appropriate to cry? Is it appropriate not to cry?
Yes.
Is it appropriate to not care and not be bothered?
Yeah.
I've lost both my parents. And the shock and the pushback I've had from people. Yes. I wasn't in contact with them. You should be in contact with your parents. They're your parents. Yeah. That's another whole conversation. And then that I should have been more upset. Then on the flip side of that, when I did get upset after my mum died, and it wasn't because she was dead, it was because I'd never had the good relationship. So I started falling into the mourning of the crap relationship.
Yes.
But then the people around me are looking at me but you didn't even like her. So now why are you upset? So there was no safe place to put any of my emotions when they came out. And I think, again, that's very neurotypical. It's we can change. No, I may have been a numb brick for years, but today I have the emotions. It's okay.
Yeah.
We have a thing in my family that when somebody passes away, in the family, I will normally be asked to write a poem and read it. You've become that person as well. And if not write something, at least do the reading. And I'm honoured to do that. I am. However, it means that I cannot just be me until that moment has passed. Because I have to keep it together for that point, because I'm basically what I am doing is I'm looking after everyone by doing this.
Yeah.
And like I say, I'm honoured that they would want me to try and express how the things have happened. And the actual writing of the poetry is very cathartic because that's what poetry's like.
Yeah.
But it does mean that I'm sort of enclosed until after that point, which means that because I've shut it off, I find it really difficult to switch it back on.
Yeah.
Which means I tend to do my grieving after the funeral, after the wake,
when everyone else has got over it.
Yeah. And then I'm a mess.
Yeah, that's really interesting, because so for me that similar situation came out of I wrote a poem. I think it was my first one was my godmum, or maybe my grandma, who died, and suddenly, or like my grandma was very sudden, and my godmum was very close to me, very important person to me. And I wrote the poem. It just happened that was how I was starting to process it. And then I was like, I've written this. Could I read it out? Because actually that would be great for me to process. And then people were like, that's great. That's really good. So I started getting requests. And I was like, this is complex, because I don't want to do if it's not authentic. Because this is, if I'm doing it, if it was going to happen for naturally, then that will be of my emotion. That will be of my relationship to the person. Yeah. But to do it authentically, I'll be like, oh, this would be wrong. This would be so wrong. And so I'm trying to work that out.
It's really hard.
Yeah.
I sort of, I did start writing like the family version and my version, which is like, because my version would have the grief in it and the, like, you know, getting the stuff out, whereas the family version is like celebrating the person.
Yeah.
Which is great. But
we're writing other people's words. I mean, it's uniquely difficult.
Yeah.
I'm a trained celebrant, so I have to write the words then to present the whole funeral on behalf of the family who have spoken to me. So listen to their stories, translate them into writing, write them in words that make sense, and then stand there and read them out. And you never quite feel like you've hit them out because you didn't really know them. It's an imperfect science in a way.
As a neurodivergent person, is it a complicated thing, your feelings after you've given a funeral? Does it have an effect on you emotionally?
Generally speaking, no.
Okay.
To be fair, again, I think I am a highly emotional person. I can cry at the drop of the hat and I love fiercely. I'm also a complete numb-hearted, rhino-hide, insensitive human. I am both things. It's so odd.
Yeah.
My partner used to say, oh, you got rhino hide. You're totally insensitive and don't feel things. But at the same time, I would weep with pain at hearing that something has happened for someone, you know. So in a funeral now, I think the numbness, the dispassionate, the distance steps in. The only time it really hit me is when they've got the photographs going on the screen and you've heard about this person who generally is older and has lived a life and they've passed. Then you sit there, listen to this lovely bit of music and see the photographs of them young and vital and as parents and as grandparents. And that would be the bit when I just kind of go, oh, they were a real person, because it's all theoretical till that point. You know, it's a person who you don't know, you've not met. You're holding space for the grief of the people with you. You're taking their stories and doing what you're good at, which is listening and writing and presenting and performing and doing all those things. So it doesn't really touch until the point when you realise that there's a real person in that box.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's weirdly distant.
But it makes it, like you said, it makes it real.
Yeah.
It takes it from the theoretical into the actual reality of what that person was.
Very much
especially if maybe you were more of a visual person. You know, the difference between like the words, this person has died, and then seeing a photo of them and knowing that they're dead. For me, that is a massive difference. So that makes a lot of sense.
After I trained to be a celebrant, I went and worked in the funeral industry where I literally was up close and personal with the people in the boxes. So my daily routine was lifting a lid and checking on the person in a box and having a little chat. You know, morning, Ollie. Sorry to bother you. Just checking everything's okay. You got a visit later. I'll try not to keep them too long. You're looking beautiful. I'll see you later. Pop the lid back on. I mean, literally, then it was a whole different thing because they're a real person. And I'm having a relationship with this deceased person because, again, they're in our care.
Yeah.
Now, whether being neurodivergent helps with that. because I haven't got the fear, I haven't got the I haven't got the ick factor. There's none of that I think a lot of people would go, oh my God, you work with the dead, that's so weird. For me, it's like, no, just a person.
Talking
Still
to
a person.
my neurodivergent friends who have lost people, like we've had conversations about it, and a lot of them say the same thing, which is, well, the thing is, they're not in there anymore. They've gone on to wherever they go on to, so it sort of feels weird. I find it a bit weird. I find funerals a bit weird.
Yeah.
The celebrating and talking about it and saying goodbye, I think is really important. My stepdad did not have a funeral, and it really and that happened last year. And I'm still really but how do I let go? So I think that aspect is really important. But I've always found it really weird that you have a person's vessel at a funeral because they're not in there anymore. And I don't know if it's because I have a spirituality and I have beliefs.
Yeah.
That I don't see that object there as particularly important. It's important because it's housed my gran or whoever for a really long time. But yeah, I find it really odd. That's why I've always found open casket funerals really strange, because it's you're looking at a vase.
It's an object.
It's a vase.
Yeah,
and they're they're in the trees, they're in the air.
Well, the weirdest thing then is to do that job with a background as a psychic medium. And,
of course, yeah. Of course.
I mean, that's
So,
entirely that's an old discussion itself.
So yeah, I mean, I have a complete background in tarot reading, psychic mediumship, and clairvoyance, and all that kind of hoo-ha. And I was giving mediumship sessions here in Gloucester, actually. And then I got the job at the funeral parlour, and then do we still call it a parlour? The funeral home. Then I got a booking to go and do some mediumship, and I turned up. I think I've been in my job about 3 weeks. I went, guys, I'm going to have to share with you a little bit that I'm actually working in a funeral home now, and this does feel like a little bit of a conflict of interest. I'm not sure I'm allowed to be looking after the dead and talking to the dead, and the two worlds might crash. And they did collide with one particular family who were doing a chapel visit. I've got 3 sisters that come in and do a chapel visit with their beloved, beloved, beloved mum. And while I'm helping them settle, one of them looked at me and said, "You're spiritual, aren't you?" I went, "Yeah, I am." She goes, "But I mean, you're spiritual." I'm like, "Have I mentioned this to you?" She goes, "No, I can tell." I went, "Well, yeah, I am." She goes, "Is she here?" I'm really not allowed to have that conversation
Conflict
right
of
now in this place. And they went, "But is she here?" And I shut the door quietly. I went, "All I can give you is this." And I proceeded to get a whole body sensation of, girls, sit up straight, shoulders back, present yourselves properly, knees together. And I'm literally thinking, why am I saying these words? And they're all like, oh. I said, I'm getting a cane as well. I went, bang. I said, I want to bang the cane on the floor. Like, stand up straight. She was a stickler, wasn't she? And they were like, yes, she was. And I went, oh my God, I'm getting Nanny McPhee. And they all went, oh, that's what we used to call her. And I'm like, you're joking. So these words are just coming out of my mouth. Whole sensations are coming out. And I'm giving them all this stuff. And I'm like, I've literally said, no, I can't do this here. And blah, there it is. And they're all like mouth agape. And I'm like, I'm so going to get busted for doing the mediumship in the room with the body. This is so wrong.
But they were requesting it.
They wanted it.
And that's the thing.
That's why
Actually,
it's
you were
not
able
asking.
you were able to give them something.
I'm really sad to have to bring this to a
no,
close.
yeah.
I feel like we could do a whole
could keep
entire
going.
episode on that alone.
I could come back.
Yeah, well, we would definitely
yeah.
have you back. It's been so great having you here. You guys at home, contact us if you need to. Even if it's you want a bit of signposting of you need a bit of support and you might want to find like a group or something, we can probably help with that.
Or just validating how if you're going to, that your way of doing it is right. Because if it's your way of doing it and it's not a danger to yourself or others, then it's right.
Yeah.
If in doubt, find someone that you trust and have a chat. I think that is the nuts and bolts of most things. Find one person that you trust in your life and ask them to listen and tell them how you feel. I think most people have got one person, and it might not be someone you think, it could be somebody you meet at a bus stop. It could be someone that is in your local shop. That people are everywhere, and there are good people everywhere. I have to say that as well.
Yeah,
there
there
are
are.
good people everywhere. People are listening. So do share.
Thanks so much, Roberta. And we'll see you again next week. Okay, folks, that's it for this episode. You can follow us on Instagram at life.inthemind, and our other socials are linked in our bio. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. Bye-bye.